Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life. All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia Night. As you can see, we are down a Patrick, but Matt, how are you doing?
Actually, we are up. Patrick is the one that is down.
Yes, actually, you know what? Phrasing, I should have pointed that out. Yeah, Patrick is once again out of action. And so it's just going to be the two of us. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a little sort of lightning round, spooky season, just random Q&A. We got some of the questions from our Discord, so we want to thank the people in our Discord who submitted questions. I also grabbed a couple of questions that I didn't know if they would fill a whole episode, but they'd been sort of in our lists of things we might want to talk about at some point. But the main thing is GMT's newsletter came out today, so it must be time to record.
Checks out.
Yeah. So, but before we do that, do we want to get into a little trivia?
We should have some trivia, yes.
Okay. James. James. Before the love of his life, Laura, is really in the ground for more than 15 minutes, he decides the new love of his life, Donna, is the one for him. And Donna reciprocates those feelings, realizing, oh my God, this is happening, and decides that she's ready for him to meet the parents. She invites James over for dinner. They have a lovely evening. And during that dinner, Donna's parents ask about James' parents. And James tells them that his father died when he was 10, and his mother's a writer who travels a lot. Is that true?
No.
Correct. Do you remember what actually was going on with his parents?
Man, why did James go to live with? Because he lives like Big Ed is his keeper.
Basically,
more or less. He's Big Ed's ward. Batman and Robin. Real Batman and Robin. When
absolutely.
You start to think about it a little bit. I don't remember. I don't.
Is that your final answer?
It is, yeah. I don't know. Dad's in jail, mom's, I don't know.
You're not that far off. The dad abandoned the family when James was 10 years old. The mother is an alcoholic who just disappears for stretches of time.
Okay.
And so, given that, Big Ed, James's uncle, took him in and, gave him a place to stay, gave him a trade if he wanted as a mechanic. But there we go. So before we get into certain things, there's a couple things I want to quickly bring up. During one of our discussions, Matt, we were talking about how, man, why can't Pathfinder have like dark fantasy? Damn it.
Yeah.
And I recently saw, this is a little bit of current events. I recently saw a backer kick that's about to start for the reprint of the Carrion Crown campaign. Now, it was originally a Pathfinder campaign. This one's going to be for the Savage Worlds Pathfinder, so it's the wrong one. But it's a horror Pathfinder campaign. And I was wondering, one, if you had heard of it, and two, do you think that dipped its toe enough into dark fantasy?
The problem is, so whether I knew of Carrying Crown or not, like I just looked it up. I'm familiar with the horror settings and the horror countries isn't the right word, regions of the Pathfinder worlds, but it's the same thing as saying, oh, well, Dungeons and Dragons has Curse of Strahd, or it has Ravenloft, or the same kind of thing. That doesn't make Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder a dark fantasy RPG.
Right.
Because again, we could very much write, there's nothing stopping us from playing our Cimmerum story in using Pathfinder. We could certainly do that. It's everything from the mechanics, and even if you say, well, the mechanics don't really matter, just the description of actions and people and places and spells and items don't necessarily match. Like my sorcerer in Dungeons and Dragons in the Curse of Strahd game I've been playing for years has never felt like a Barovian sorcerer, right?
Right.
And there are like some things that change wild magic to be more Curse of Strahd, but like I'm still just like casting Misty Step, right? The flavor of Cimmerum really adds to it. And so like a campaign book, what I'm saying is a campaign book isn't necessarily enough to like push it over the edge. I want dark fantasy flavor and from top to bottom.
Right.
And the design goal from the beginning to be dark fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the important distinction right there, right? Like we don't want just a coat of paint or something. We want it, like you said, designed and to evoke that sensibility. So that makes sense. Yeah.
And like gothic horror vampires isn't necessarily what I'm after either. I mean, I like that setting, but again, it's more than that. Right. Symbaroum really captures that kind of vibe and world. So,
all right. So that's what we started off with. And a real quick check-in. At the time of this recording, we are pretty deep into spooky season. What do you got going on tonight with your spooky season paraphernalia?
Oh, yes. Well, I can't believe I did not bring a lighter down, but I am drinking a seasonally appropriate mug.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all I got. I got a hockey jersey on too, so
that's pretty spooky.
It is hockey season.
And I, of course, have a candle.
Look at that.
That's right. And it's Mordor's Taint. No, it's called the Black Gate. Because again, I have Lord of the Rings candles that some of them have porn names, like Wild Strider, but not this one. Okay, so that was one thing. So the second thing I wanted to get into is Matt.
Yeah,
we have successfully, I think, completed our first Discord arranged RPG game.
Now, hold on, slow your roll, because I'm going to ask you some questions here, because you coordinated this, you ran this, and it was so we finished a game. Art did a wonderful job of running the scenario from the hardcover bestiary, right? It's out of the bestiary, right?
It's out of the hardcover rule book.
No, it's out of, that's right.
Yeah.
From Dragonbane. And we had a group of people play. And what's interesting is Art and I both played this solo. We had a start of Dragonbane a long time ago that I'm sure we talked about on the show.
Yeah.
And then we were huge fans. And then I went off and played a session of it. And this is the first time that I think either of us have gotten a multiplayer play of Dragonbane through to completion.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
I loved it. I keep thinking every time I get into that game, and I said this at the end of our session, I keep thinking like, could this be the one that replaces D100 because it's so smooth, so, and I just, part of me says, yeah, part of me is not 100% sure, but that's not because I didn't love it. I genuinely love it. And I love its approach to that old school D100 vibe, but with smooth D20 mechanics.
Yeah. So we had a lot of failures and trials and tribulations and deaths or near deaths across the board. And I think that was the old school RPG coming out and showing itself. What did you think of that as a DM? Because we had a group of 5. We started with 4. And big shout out to Duck. And of course, Patrick was there. I was there. And from the Discord, we had Nate and your brother Andrew, and they all hopped in, did a great job.
Yeah.
But we did see a lot of pain inflicted on our party. What did you think of that as the GM?
So there's no way to know what happened, but there was an own goal in part of the combat where a fumble roll ended up taking out one of the party members from friendly fire. And I was talking with the person who will never know who it was, who shot that arrow that killed a friendly. And we were discussing, like, given how gritty that combat is, does the sort of wild swinginess of a D20 fumble crit system, is it maybe a little too much? And so I was telling the person again, that we'll never know who it was, about other systems I'd read that found ways to mitigate. For those listening, we just doxed the assaulter. So to find the other systems that have ways to mitigate a D20 crit and fumble. But so that was the one thing I was like, given how, because D&D is not something I would think of as too deadly. So if you get a crit, yeah, you're doubling damage or something,
Right.
but it's not going to wipe you out.
Well, and then we also had the unfortunate circumstance of 2 players, myself included, fell down the same hole. After a really brutal attempt at getting across a river. Not even a threatening river. We just could not swim across.
Yeah.
No, you got us across because obviously you can't just keep testing your swim roll until you get it.
Right.
But I do think that the brutality of the system really shine. And I think it's been there all along. Like, if you go back and watch Art's solo play of Dragonbane, awful things happen to you and you miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, so as a GM, you're kind of scripted is maybe not the right word, but your enemies have like a base set of actions they can do or a way that they're supposed to act, right?
Yeah.
Right. What really came through this time around was, and I mean, the odds make sense, but I had some skills that were a 14. It was a huge difference because it's a 70% chance to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you want to lean into those character strengths, obviously, because if you're not good at agility, you probably won't pull off the agility things in this game.
Right.
And you are right. It does kind of feel like a D100 at times because there's 20 different skills and it's tied to agility. Anyways, it is kind of like, I think you want to lean into the thing that really makes your character unique and maybe not just use a random, because I think we had 2 players use a random generator.
Yeah.
For their stats.
Yeah. Patrick is one of them.
Can be great, but it can also be bad because of how, I don't know if fragile is the right word for your characters, but how ineffective your characters can be when they're not skilled in the stat.
Right. But one of those people that I think you could, who used the random generator was Patrick. And to his credit, his character ended up being a talker, right? A smooth talker.
Yeah, right.
And that actually, he was clever enough to role play it. So even when he was one of the guys that took a nosedive down the hole, he didn't go to his combat stats. He went to his social abilities and managed to turn everything around in a way I did not expect. I expected him to get killed, and he didn't. He talked his way out.
I have a question for you after playing
Sure.
this game. Am I stupid for thinking, oh, I have an 8, my odds in this suck, versus, oh, I have a 40% on a D100. I think I can do it, because that was a common thought in my head is like, wow, that number's really low, but I never did the math to be like, oh, this is like when I have a 40% in fucking Call of Cthulhu or something.
That is a hard thing to judge. My understanding is based on the research. I think people are really bad at calculating odds and risk. I think it's just, even if we know the math, I think people are wired not to be able. So not to get political, but when you read in 2016, Hillary Clinton had an 85% chance to win. That means 1 in 6, means she loses, right? It's or something, in that ballpark. So it's sort of it's a 1 in 6 doesn't seem that low, but 85% seems really high, so that's one of the reasons why in my head, I always gravitated towards D100 systems, because I feel like it so clearly puts it out there. Like, hey, bro, it's literally, and there's no translation. There's no, and we're still bad at it.
40% sounds great. That's not that bad.
Yeah, I can get this. Dude, I got this.
It's basically half.
And half is halfway to all the way, baby.
That's right.
Sure thing. Yeah. So no, I definitely don't think that.
I just get, that was just my thought. Oh wow, I really suck in this, but I never, in Call of Cthulhu or something, I never.
You expect it in a way.
Yeah, I think what makes this worse from a player perspective, quote unquote worse, I had a blast. It was amazing.
Yeah.
What makes that feeling worse is when I push something or use luck in Call of Cthulhu, or when we were playing the spy game and we used other skills to augment our skills, it helped boost and make things better. Here, when you're pushing things and you're trying to force that thing through, you're setting yourself back. You take a boon, and we've talked about the mechanics of Dragonbane before, but you take a boon, and then if you take the thing that impacts your intelligence, all of your intelligence-based rolls, your skills for like recall knowledge or the equivalent of that, are going to be rolling with disadvantage the whole time. So like,
Yeah.
the thing to push the thing through is a temporary benefit, but now you're going to be setting yourself back for the long run until you can get that rest. And that's different in the spy game, and that's different in Call of Cthulhu. It just makes it feel like a more, that's why I said brutal earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the interesting things, because I'm not a math guy, but the thing I came away from my solo experience was that pushing rolls, which then create, as you were describing, those disadvantage conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I think rolling 2 dice and taking the lower one, I don't know how much that impacts the odds, but I can tell you it felt like it really impacted the odds when I was playing a solo adventure. Like, I didn't appreciate it. Like, all of a sudden I'm like, I'm failing everything all the time because I'm rolling 2 dice, taking the lower. And I realized, 1, I shouldn't have done that. 2, I needed to take advantage of like the short rest to get some of those knocked off. Like, there was a lot of, and you guys didn't rest until pretty deep in the adventure. I don't know how you would have. It was combat basically right from the jump. But
right, yeah, you really got to be careful pushing that stuff in combat.
Yeah.
And maybe like leaning on your intelligence if you're not a magic user or something like that, because if you take the right conditions, then you're not hurting yourself in combat. But it was great to get back to. Is this something? Are you gonna when do you see this hitting the table again? And do you want to run it again?
I would happily run it again. I don't know when I would see it hitting the table. The thing I found interesting about Dragonbane, there's a number of campaigns out there. You know, one comes with the box set. I think I've got another one over here. There's another one that might be launching on Kickstarter or BackerKit soon. There's a lot of like long-term stuff for the game. But what I found interesting about Dragonbane is part of the description. I don't know if I read this online or in one of the books or somewhere. What they described some of their adventures as is they try and come up with an interesting situation. They don't worry too much about the story and just drop your players into it. So in this adventure, it's meant to sort of be an introduction, but it's basically a rubbled castle that's been taken over by goblins, but it has a little bit of history. And that's it. You know, it's not like there's a huge story, but the idea of having it hit the table, I like the idea of long stories, but I think it would be relatively easy to hit the table because a lot of adventures is just meant to be these encapsulated, interesting locations that you go and ravage a little bit.
It feels very, I made a joke on this on Discord earlier about how I was going to talk about Conan tonight. Yeah. Like out of the blue, but it actually does feel a little bit like Conan in the sense that I could plop any Conan story down in front of you, whether it's a movie, a comic, or a book, and you're going to get the gist of it, right? Yeah. Like you can read chapter 18 without reading the past 17 chapters. And I think that's a little bit like what Dragonbane would be good at, is maybe not the Symbaroum story, maybe not the Genesis story with this really crazy in-depth world and these really interconnected player stories with these rich, developed backstories. Because one, you're probably going to lose some of those characters along the way. And I like it was great that, you know, we had a character die. I was nearly dead and was about to die. Yeah. And like you were just able to roll up a new character down in the dungeon that we freed up right away. And it just worked naturally. So I do think it probably works. I'd be more interested in doing it as an in and out thing than as a deep ongoing campaign.
Yeah, I think that's where I landed too. There's a part of me that, like I said, could this replace my D100? Like I'm prepping like a homebrew fantasy, and it's probably going to be Mithras, but I'm like, could it have been Dragonbane? And I don't know, but would you ever want to run Dragonbane, or do you think, no, I got a lot out of playing it? Okay.
No, it's super fun. I really like it. I like that NPCs act in a certain way. But like even, you know, combat is kind of simple too. And I think we talked about this when we reviewed the system, and this was more, you know, I know I'm doing a lot of talking. What I really wanted to get was your perspective as a GM. Right. But it's maybe not deep enough to be that 2-year-long campaign. Yeah. Yeah. But it is a great side piece. With legs to be deeper if you wanted it to be. I mean, there's It is cool stuff. I really, really like it, but it is, I don't know, it just feels a little light and shallow.
Yeah. And I will say, it was really easy to pick up and run, even with delays and long gaps between sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So I genuinely really appreciated that. The idea of it just being a self-contained location meant that it was easy to refresh what was going on and what I needed to know.
Sure.
And then we were able to get through it in like 3 sessions, so it was a really, I thought it was a really great game to set up on our Discord and run through.
Yeah.
There are some people who I think might want Harn to be one of those systems. And Pete, I'm telling you, we can make it happen. But also, it's tricky because like I think you would need a full session, like a genuine session 0 to get through character creation, because it's a complicated affair. And if you're looking to do like, a small one shot, let's dip our toe into the system, you kind of have to do the character creation, because a lot of it, because you don't know what you're looking at if you don't.
Well, I don't know if you're the same way, but if I'm doing something meaty and heavy, I want the session 0 because I want my player character to be interwoven with the other players. And this is something we've tried to do a couple times, right? Like,
yeah,
I've tried to push it because I've never, up until we did this, I never had like a GM do it, but like getting your characters to know each other, I think makes for a better role-playing experience because then it means you're all invested in the story. And so where I'm going with this is like, if I'm investing into Harn, then I want to invest in the story.
Right.
And if it's just like, well, let's drop in and play Harn, and we're just going to do this silly one-shot, that's easier for me to like dick around and make a reference, or like you pulled a Dumbo reference out, right? A thing like that means we're going to have more of a, what's the thing we just played with the rose?
Oh man, I feel so.
What's the name of your favorite book?
Name of the Rose is the book. Rosewood Abbey is the
if
adventure.
Like that will make me probably be more of a Name of the Rose situation than a Cimmerum situation,
right?
Because I haven't bought in on all fronts. So
yeah. But I will say this: I want to thank everybody who jumped in the game. Matt, I want to thank you as well. Patrick couldn't make the last session because he's out, just like he's out tonight. So we made sure his PC sort of walked off into the sunset and was fine. But who knows, if we arrange another Discord game in the future, I think Dragonbane, if I'm the one running it, might see if we can get the band back together and keep going.
I did. I'd be interested in playing Magic User again. So this was the first time I really dove into Magic, and that was cool. Mm-hmm. But I was so near death that I just spent all my willpower points in one ability to basically get like a super, like deadly punch.
Yeah.
But
and it worked.
Yeah, it does. Magic's a little shallow until you can get other stuff. But anyways, it was fun. Thank you for running it, because our experiences with Dragonbane continue to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, cannot recommend it enough. And that starter set, the box, I don't think, money's all relative. Money's a man-made concept. I don't know how much the box costs, but you get a lot in this. The starter box is not a typical starter box. It gives you the full rule book. It gives you a campaign. And it gives you
standees, dice. And I really like the standees. I think they're fun.
Good
I just have the box and the bestiary. Okay. I didn't get the other rule book.
I don't know why I knew it had another adventure, but I probably could have got that separately. I think I just like the classiness of it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I understand it.
So that was Dragonbane. A wonderful time. Do we need to check in on Conan and Red Sonja? What's going on with that?
No, we don't. It's just my latest obsession among many obsessions that I throw myself into.
Comics or prose?
Yeah, I'm reading the comics. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Robert Howard's books?
No, I've never. I think I once tried to like track down some Conan books, but I never did. And then Red Sonja is just like this, chainmail bikini feminist icon with bright red hair that like has always been on the comic shelf since I've read comics, but it's just like,
Right.
oh, that's just like fantasy smut. But what I've been discovering is Red Sonja is actually like not. Those just drive sales.
Right.
And so I will make this brief, but one of my favorite comic book writers named Mark Russell did an amazing Flintstones run of all things. And he had a Red Sonja run. And I started reading that and I was like, this is one of the best like fantasy stories. I don't know if you read 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. It's very satirical. Like it's very funny and it has like a lot of like modern talk. And that's how he's written this Red Sonja. So it's like, it's not like fantasy talk by any means, but it's also got this, anyways, way off topic. But
yeah, I will say I'm not a huge fantasy reader.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed the Robert Howard that I've read. I like the world. I like the stories. I particularly like the world.
Okay. I will say the Conan series is another favorite author of mine. When I found out he did, I was like, cool, that's the Conan I'm going to read. Like, I'm not going way back to the early 70s and stuff. And that's more in line of like Conan, just what you'd expect. It doesn't have a satirical bend to it or anything like that. And it's cool. It's really fun.
Nice. Very nice.
It is giving me some like inspiration, which is good. Like I like pulling, I think I may have mentioned, or maybe I just hinted at, like I've also been reading Berserk and Berserk is influencing our Symbaroum campaign in big ways.
Yeah.
So
I could see that. And that's the thing, that's kind of sword and sorcery, the sword and sandals, whatever you want to call it. It's got a grittiness to it. I don't know if I would
absolutely
flat out call it dark, but I like that grit.
I think that in both things I'm reading by different people, I think every issue has had a person be beheaded. So
that's pretty out there.
Yeah, right. Anyways, yeah, that's a little thing. We have some listener questions that I would love. Should we get to those?
Yeah. Do you have one you want to pull up, or I've got one ready if you want to
do it? I was just gonna switch over to them.
So real quick, Discord user Duck asks, why is GURPS the best system for all RPGs, and why has everyone not converted all games to GURPS? Matt, your response.
Yeah, so I think not the problem. One, I'm lazy. Two, it's the same thing we've talked about with Fate and any of these generic. We've talked about this, right?
Yeah.
The problem with the generic rule setting is I have to do the distilling, and I want someone in this creative team behind it. It's the same reason why I'm not taking Pathfinder and making it dark fantasy, right? Like, I want top to bottom designed for effect. Yeah. Not designed for catch-all, and you build it. And obviously, like, GURPS has a Hellboy module from the 3rd edition of GURPS. So, for a long time, there was not a Hellboy setting, and I was like, oh, I'll do GURPS. It'll catch everything. There's already this. But even then, I still, like, it's just a lot of work. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to the complex rules by any means. It's just, again, I want to be designed. I said designed for effect, but like maybe designed with intent is a better way of saying it. And GURPS, even though there's modules for it, wasn't necessarily designed for X.
Right. And what I'll say, have you played GURPS?
No, I did some work on the Hellboy stuff, and I designed a character for like a low-powered superheroes game, but I never participated in the actual game. Okay,
cool. So my limited experience with GURPS was both really fascinating and informative. And I think like we said, we've talked about this before. GURPS, there's different ways to generically apply a system to any setting, and GURPS approaches it with a very simulationist approach. So like the way you figure out a character's movement is you figure out how fast human beings in the real world move over a second, right? And so you can then start to extrapolate, well, how fast does a horse move? Because it's all miles per hour within the. So it's very physics, realism. And in some ways, I think what that allows you to do is that allows you to apply math to basically anything because it's, math is like the universal language. But like you said, it doesn't feel like it has intent or a soul, or I don't know what it is. And I think had they sort of, and this is again, Duck was the one who said this, like Savage Worlds is GURPS 5.0. If they had just sort of stepped a little bit back from simulation and stepped a little forward into design, like, combat is 1 second rounds. Why? Because 1 second is the shortest unit of time. And then you can increment, anything into whatever, but if they had said, in my mind, if they'd made combat 6 seconds of time, like say D&D, or 10 seconds of time, you start to abstract things, you lose some of that simulation. But I feel like, and it forces you to start making some choices that I don't think GURPS wants to make. I think it wants to lay it out mechanically. But I'd be curious to see a GURPS where they designed a little bit more, simulated a little bit less, and didn't try and cover everything by adding to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one, I agree with you. You're taking this in a very, like, thought-out approach, and much like how I get excited for games, I'm thinking about this, like, from the passion side of things.
Right.
And when I talk about what gets me excited, like, I get GURPS, it's really not that much work. If there's a fireball spell, there's nothing stopping me from taking that fireball spell and making it the thing I want. Right? Like, oh, you know what? They don't have this nuclear death ray for my superhero. Well, just go pick a spell that gets close. Like, I get that.
Right.
The problem is like, for me, this is what I talked about. I get excited about the application of the cool shit and how this game has been designed to carry out the cool shit.
Right.
And what you said is dead on. When it doesn't have the soul, then it's hard for me to get excited about it. So, like, I don't have a problem with GURPS. It's hard for me to get horned up for GURPS.
Right. And I think a GM could bring that horned up and use
They
GURPS.
could, because I am able to get horned up for Savage Worlds. Like, I understand that Savage Worlds is a generic system. The things that get me horned up for Savage Worlds are things like Old Holler. Was it Old Holler or the Holler or whatever?
Yeah, they had the Holler. Yeah.
The Holler. The things with specific application, because I can see it and get excited about it. And your Savage Worlds was it was not a thing. It was not here's Savage Worlds Cyberpunk. It's here's arts, vanilla, no alien space odyssey, space opera, TM. But I was able to get horned up on that because it wasn't like, it was there and presented with me and your intent was behind it.
Yeah. So yeah. I was going to say, I get really, I feel like the soul in those comes from my love of what I'm trying to do with the setting.
Yeah.
And I think that could easily happen with GURPS.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But even like your choice of the abilities that we got to use and remember we talked, like, another thing that gets me all fired up is character creation.
Right.
And if it's just like, well, I have 5,000 different menu options, well, that's not, it's the, like, you're at a bad restaurant when their menu is like 6 pages long, right? Like, it's just, it's not, like, it may be good, but it's not like fine dining. When you've distilled that list, when you've presented, these are the things you can use in this world, which is that's no real different than like what Deadlands will do by adding the things that add the flavor. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the thing that gives it the soul and the spirit of the game. And from a GM perspective, it's hard for me to want to do that.
Right.
Again, just because I'm lazy.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, and if I had a setting, like, this homebrew fantasy setting that I want to be kind of dark and gritty.
Right.
Like, I'll start pouring through systems and I'm not having like the passion for the system. It's going to help me have the passion for the setting. But I wanted to, but without spending too much time on this, because it's supposed to be like a lightning round discussion. The second part of his question is, why has everyone not converted all games to GURPS? Putting that literally aside, I guess that means systems don't matter.
I don't know. I've never bought into that because it's just like, I know that's like a joke in the community, but systems matter. I mean, just go look at Pathfinder, right? Like,
Right.
we've talked about like Pathfinder. That system does get me horned up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All right. So systems matter. All right.
Absolutely.
Do you have a question you want to fire off from the Discord?
yeah, absolutely, I do. So spooky season is upon us, and I would love to field some spooky questions, and we can probably turn this into some spooky RPG questions. But Scuba asks, the scariest place we've ever been. I'll let you start.
Okay, the scariest place I've ever been. My own mind. So the scariest place that I can remember ever being, and this has been a while, was, man, when I was a little kid, there's a couple things that really we were in South Carolina, grandfather lived there, and there was like a cave of some kind. But I was pretty little. Like now I probably wouldn't be scared of it at all. But at the time, I remember it was like, you couldn't see more than 10 feet into it. The light just died. Not too far into the cave. And I remember my brother and I, we were very young, and we were looking, and there was just something about it just creeped me out. I didn't go into the cave, but staring at the mouth of the cave. And maybe I'm just misremembering. My brother might, I don't think he listens, but he'd be like, no, that's not what happened, bro. But, in my mind, that's what it was. As an adult, man, I don't really know. Like being in a car accident, but like, that's not the intent of the question, I don't think.
Right.
How about
my
you?
scariest place I ever went as that stands out. And what's weird, like I was afraid of a lot of things as a kid, which we're going to get to, but which probably is why I didn't go to scary places. Like now I go to haunted houses as an adult and legitimately enjoy them if they're done well, because I think I'm impressed by the performance of it all. Like they take it really serious. There's some great ones here in Kansas City. There's one that's based around all the horror classics. So you get traced by Michael Myers, and it's really cool. But when I was little, the place that was the most scary was my Catholic church. But not for the reasons you may think. They were doing a haunted house, which is kind of funny that it was in the Catholic church. And I was probably like 5.
Okay.
And my aunt went trick-or-treating with us. And they were like, my brother and sister off went to like go do things with the cool kids. My sister's probably in the youth group or whatever. Like, go do the haunted house. And like everyone pushed me to do it. And they had this part where you just like crawled through a long tube, and they banged on the sides, and they're screaming and they're yelling. It's pitch black in there. And I stop, and my aunt keeps crawling, and then I just get left in the tube, and they're banging on it, and I just sit in the tube and just like cry. it's like, anyways, that's, I don't know. I give her a hard time about that all the time. Like, remember when you just left me in that tube? My biggest fear as a child was being kidnapped.
I mean, that's not a crazy one.
Like it would seriously sometimes, like anytime I was alone, like in a public place, I would think about it. But I never like communicated. It's just something like I was always scared shitless of. Yeah. But like one time we were in the grocery store and my mom was like, I forgot my purse, stay with the cart. And I was like, what?
No.
And then this guy that worked, we had a family business and he worked for us, and he also worked in the deli at this grocery store, and I didn't know it, but he came up behind me and he put an arm around my throat and then an arm over my face and started dragging me backwards to mess with me. Like he was like a family friend. So like him doing that, him fucking with me was normal.
Right.
But me not seeing who it was and starting to be grabbed in a fucking grocery store. Like, anyways, so that's part 2 of the question. Kidnapping was my greatest childhood fear.
Yeah. So my biggest childhood fear, I mean, I'm sure there's a whole smorgasbord of them. The one I remember that's like very much a child fear. Again, very young, and we're in our apartment at the time, and I guess this was in Brooklyn, and my brother and I shared a room, and I could have swore something came out of the doorknob, came toward me, and
like
then
Josie
sucked.
Packard?
What's that? Josie
Like
Packard.
Josie Packard.
That is foreshadowing, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So for a very brief window, when I was probably 4 or something, I was terrified at night of
Shit.
the doorknob to my bedroom.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Let's then segue. We'll save the biggest irrational fear for last. Scuba then asks, what recurring nightmare did we have as a child? Tying into the kidnapping theme of my life.
Right.
I would have dreams about being kidnapped. But the craziest thing about this was it was always the same person.
Okay.
And it was a cross of Switchblade Sam, who is Christopher Lloyd's character in Dennis the Menace in the 1996 movie. And here's the weird thing, Alan Rickman as Professor Snape. But this is well before the Harry Potter movies. And it was always the same person. And sometimes I would see, this then gets into the irrational fear, and this is weirdly similar to your doorknob. I would sometimes see his face in the light bulb on my fan. And so then I would like have this fear of looking at, so like the irrational fear was also always being afraid of being kidnapped. And we podcast so we don't have to talk about these things at therapy. Yeah. And yeah, there you go. So that answers both my irrational fear and recurring childhood dream, which is Christopher Lloyd and Alan Rickman combined with long hair coming to get me.
Are you willing to share if you have an irrational fear now?
No, I think all my like fears now are like rational because it's like fatherhood fears and like adequacy, self-worth. No. I'm kidding.
I've heard you're a wonderful lover.
No, do you? Because like I know there's like I listen to other podcasts when like spooky season comes out, and like some people are like legitimate, like, oh, fucking gray aliens. I don't fuck with that shit. And it's like gray aliens, like that's are you for real? Or like cryptids and shit. And it's like, well, no, I don't. What about? Do you have any?
Yeah. So what were the questions? Biggest irrational fear, scariest. I'll do the scariest recurring childhood nightmare. This one's actually pretty. This one lasted a while, and I don't know when it started. It was definitely not when I was really little. I don't remember when I saw the movie Silent Night, Deadly Night, but it's sort of, there's a scene where like, I think in that movie where Santa chops somebody's head off and like the head rolls down a hill or something dumb. But in my nightmare, I'm being chased by someone down like a similar hill in a suburb, and the person has a fireman's axe. And I'm running and I'm realizing in the dream that I can't keep going, and they don't seem to be losing steam either, but I am. And so I'm still trying to do it, but they catch up, and the dream ends when I can feel the axe hitting, because he swings it. And in the dream, it's not like it swings and it goes to black, and I feel it hitting and going in. And that's when I wake up.
And you had that dream multiple times?
Absolutely. Yeah. Multiple times. And in every single one, like I'm just running and I'm running and I'm running. And the whole time I realize like, I can't keep this up, and he's not slowing down.
So what's interesting about mine, it was never the repeat of the same story, right? Like I knew this guy was a bad guy, and every time he's trying to take me, but it's always it was just the characters were the same. Okay. And I want to say my dad was never in it. I don't know if my mom, it was like my sister was always there, and my aunt was always there, which is like weird. I have several aunts, but so I don't know, but I never had like a same situation over and over. I just had like I was like Halloweening my way through my nightmares as opposed to Groundhog Day.
Right. And then my biggest irrational fear as a kid, I don't recall. At one point I was scared of, we lived in the city, and I didn't like fluorescent lights, like the neon lights.
Oh, really?
Which they were everywhere. As an adult, like, I don't know if this is irrational, but heights shut me down. Just whoa.
Oh, is that irrational? Because like I don't love bridges.
Yeah, like being on a bridge, I'm like, oh, I'm a little nervous.
driving the bridge out to the Outer Banks and then other like driving across other bridges, particularly driving across bridges, like I can still do it, but I do get like a little like clammy, and maybe that's irrational. But then also I see those things about like the crumbling infrastructure of our nation and like see how rusty they are. I was like, is this irrational? Maybe not.
Yeah. But yeah, heights, and it doesn't have to be like crazy heights. Like heights just do a number on me. Like like going down like a staircase where you can look over and see. Like,
I'm gonna use this.
Oh, god damn it.
I'm gonna use this in an RPG.
That's the thing. Like Patrick's like scritch scratch baby mice. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. But
I do
you have
mice and rats. Yeah. Yeah, but those aren't irrational. They're fucking disgusting creatures. That's not irrational.
Right. That's how you get the bubonic plague. That's rational.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I guess if we really want to start peeling layers back, I guess it depends on what you consider irrational or not.
Yeah. Man,
so I did want to tie this into RPG before we go to the next use, and this can be much quicker than what we just did. But what is your So I want to make this a two-parter for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite type of horror movie or horror show? And what is that different from your preferred style of like horror RPG you either want to run or experience?
Yeah. So again, not to dwell on it too much. My favorite kind of horror show or movie is almost none of them. I am not a horror fan. And I think we've talked about that before, but I will say like the question then becomes like, but certain things really capture my interest, and certain things I think could capture my interest that I haven't tried yet. Like the ones you were talking about, the
Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
You didn't watch Bly Manor yet?
No, it's so
softy one.
I know. The problem is like the TV I watch is usually with family, and that's not something they're going to go for. So getting TV time to myself can be a little tricky. I don't know if you've seen on the channel how much Lord of the Rings online there is, but that doesn't happen by itself, baby. But yeah, but I will say like, so then like, would you consider something like Seven?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, so that was going to be, I don't want to take your answer. That's not my favorite thing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like tragic horror with a message like Mike Flanagan is my favorite thing, but also I love Halloween. Like the original Halloween, I fucking love it. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's so nostalgic. But then I was thinking, in terms of RPGs, I like playing that, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think things like Seven or Twin Peaks or X-Files, maybe not like as explicit as Monster of the Week X-Files, but the vibe of investigating and real would be where I want to play and live.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I had to pick a horror style, like, and I'll say like I liked the first 2 seasons of American Horror Story, but not for the first couple of seasons, but not for the reasons of the horror. But I like.
See, that's why I think you'd like Flanagan, because his work is so fucking beautiful in the cinema. Like it's just like for someone who didn't go to film school, obviously, like I hope it would give you as much of a boner as it gave me to like validate my extra appreciation. Like it's an amazing story. I love the horror. I also think it's just some of the best TV I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so sorry.
But yeah. So if I had to pick horror, like all the examples you threw out there would be it. Like the unnerving kind of, like when Bob climbs over the couch.
Yes. Yeah.
Jump scares I find cheap. Like I will say you're gonna, okay, just to give it a moment to clip it out onto YouTube Shorts. Film hot take. I think the original Halloween is fucking stupid.
Oh no.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay because I also understand it. Like,
yeah.
My love for it is a lot of nostalgia base.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it captures the like perfect fall y'all vibe. This is like basic white girl things, but like the leaves on the street are just like my ideal Halloween. And when I see that, then I feel Halloween.
Right. So
there's a lot of stupid bullshit in Halloween, but I love it now. I love it.
And I will say, like, soundtrack amazing. The way it pioneered low budget filmmaking. Like, there's so many good things about it. Like that I don't want to take away. But
We're talking plot, right? Like those are the stupid things.
Yeah.
Or what other?
So I'll tell you the moment that encapsulates the stupidity of Halloween, and I could cite other things that fall into this vibe. There's a scene where there's a girl walking home from high school. I don't know if it's Jamie Lee Curtis. It might be Jamie Lee. I don't know if it was her. And she thinks she's being followed. And so she turns around and then starts kind of walking backwards. And then the camera reveals there's a pair of shoes standing there, and she's walking, and all of a sudden she backs into the person, and jump scare. It's the sheriff. So the sheriff just let a teenage girl back into him. I mean, that's fucked up, right?
Like, I'm not going to try to defend that.
Right. Like, so the moment you think, wait, like, okay, that was a spooky, scary moment, but if I actually do the math on what just happened, he's a pedophile.
That's the real horror art.
Right. Yeah. And so Halloween is an example of its approach to horror is knowing that it's a movie. It's using, like, the cop would never stand there and let the girl back into him. He does it because the camera's positioned in such a way to create a horror moment. Right. So like there's another scene where Jamie Lee Curtis is looking outside and Michael Myers is behind some drying laundry. Yeah. And then they cut to Jamie Lee Curtis and she goes, and then they cut back and Michael Myers is gone. She was looking at him the whole time. She knows he just walked over there. But because it's a movie and it's a shot reverse shot, and I think like The Sixth Sense might fall into this. Like the only reason, like The Sixth Sense, I think has an internal logic that works. But the reason why it works is because the scene starts here and ends here. But if you imagine these characters as people in a world, like it wouldn't hold up. Like, you know, it just wouldn't hold up. For Bruce Willis not understanding what he is. It only works because the scene starts with them in some media res where he could believably not know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like an awkward dinner at a restaurant. And he's like, so you're mad at me? What's going on? But when she gets up to pay the bill and go to the back and then it starts to get weird.
Right. Yeah. Table for one.
Right. That's the thing. Like when she walks into the restaurant and says a table for one, he's like, what am I, chopped liver? I mean, like, but it's because the scene starts here and it's only sense. Because it's a movie. And that might be too harsh of a criticism because maybe you could say that about all movies, right? But I feel like certain movies hold up as a story, and horror is a tricky thing because it's so manipulative.
Sure. Oh, that's fascinating. I mean, I'm not gonna if being one of my favorites does not mean it's like one of the best movies of all time. And I'm not trying to like defend Halloween, right? Or maybe I am. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. But that's interesting. I know Halloween has some flaws. Mm-hmm. Again, it's more just a vibe check.
Right.
For me, and there are some stupid ass moments in that film, but I love it, and I'll always, I really want you to check out A Flanagan because I'd love to hear like your thoughts on that because, the Halloween things I've never thought of it like, oh, this only works because of it's a film. I've certainly worked like he was right there and you were watching him, or the end of Halloween. Sorry, 50-year fucking spoiler coming up.
Right,
like. He's fucking dead, and he only gets up and walks away because you're right. They pan back to them standing. They're back up in the bedroom up above again. Like that only works because the viewer wasn't keeping their eyes on him, which I do think is interesting, but it is kind of dumb. I would love to hear your thoughts on. I think Haunting of Hill House does the most creative things, like hiding ghosts in scenes. But it is also the most horrifying and has the most jump scares.
Okay.
So for you, that may not be good, but I would love to get like Midnight Mass or Bly Manor. I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
That sounds like a podcast, Matt.
It sure does. It sure does.
Expanding Empire. I will say Children of the Corn, super unnerving. I really gave me shivers. I don't know if it's dumb or not. I can't remember, but I remember finding it very unnerving and thinking, this is fun, except for when the ending gets all weird. But the little kids like running people through a deli slicer and stuff, I'm just like, oh Jesus, that's unnerving.
I may have shared this story before, but we lived out in and remember, this is, if you've made it this far, you understand that this episode is going all over the place. But this is relevant to horror, not RPGs. we had satellite TV.
Okay.
And for the first time, we upgraded to like Dish Network from like big ass satellite dish. And for the first time, we could get like pay-per-view over the TV instead of like calling a number. And so we were never allowed to call the number we had the big dish, but we had Dish Network. And so my mom had something. It's like, Dad's like, why don't you pick a movie out for us? And he played Hearts on the computer all the time. He's like, I'm going to finish this Hearts game and I'll meet you out there. And I was like, Dad, I heard everyone's talking about how scary this movie The Ring is, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
And like, like The Ring, when The Ring came out and you're in middle school, it's like, it's the scariest movie ever made. And my dad goes, I don't watch horror movies.
Oh.
You're doing that on your own.
Oh.
And he left, and I had to watch The Ring by myself. Oh. And that's when I learned that my dad hated horror movies and didn't like them. And I'm like in middle school and I had to watch The Ring alone. He's like, but you've already rented it. You're not going to waste it. So
it's like,
I'm off. It's like,
so that's crazy. I was not in middle school when The Ring came out.
No, I don't think you were. So, let me confirm I wasn't a freshman.
Yeah.
Ring release date. 1990. No, that's not the.
No.
2002. Yeah,
2002.
I was in middle school.
Yeah, and I was 27. So so actually I thought that was a really fun, because I appreciate that it was PG-13, so it could get the audience that I think would get hit hardest by it. And I thought it was just a really cool like teen sleepover scary movie kind of setup that I thought was really smart. And it was well executed too. I
had the wrong horror like generation. I would have loved to like be brought up during Halloween, Friday the 13th, any John Carpenter stuff.
Yeah.
My like peak horror for me was House of a Thousand Corpses, which I probably watched like 5 times. The remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hostel, Saw. So like either just brutal, gruesome stuff or explicit like torture porn horror.
Right.
And then so for a long time I was like, I don't really like horror movies.
Yeah.
And then I found out like when we got married, like started rewatching this stuff with my wife. It's like, oh, these fucking rock. So
yeah. Torture porn I will not touch.
I watched, I not like the like worst stuff out there, but like all the like Hostel 1 and 2, I saw many of the Saws. But that's just like what was in.
Right. That was a whole
high
genre
school for me.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It really peaked then. And so it's the wrong time to be brought up. Okay. So what about playing RPGs in that setting? Because I would guess for you, but I don't want to, like, I will play those things, but Twin Peaks is kind of the sweet spot of like, that's my ideal horror game. I'm an investigator. There's this dead person and it's going to lead to this other stuff. Now that can ramp up to really scary and be more like Delta Green, or it can kind of stay weird and funky like Twin Peaks. But that's where like my ideal living space would be.
Yeah, it exactly the same. Liminal horror, I hope comes back at some point, because that
so
was
cool.
Perfect. This is the thing that keeps me pining for Call of Cthulhu. If not the rule set, at least the idea, the setting. Again, because it's all what you're just describing, that Twin Peaks, X-Files, where like they're all sort of like you're an investigator showing up in a place, and what I like about horror in role playing games that I don't love when I'm reading a book or something. In a role playing game, like I have, and we've probably talked about this before, I just have no idea, because it can get so weird, right? Like there's literally no restrictions on how off the hook it gets. And, like Scritch Scratch, like the trees were alive with like rats, and like it can go, and I can never guess I've said this before, definitely. Like I like playing to find out what happens next. And in these types of games, it could go anywhere, and I really appreciate it. So it's never the horror part of it. I get, when we were doing liminal horror and you were describing the creature in the under the basement, I was like, ugh. But it was just the idea of like, there's something weird going on upstairs. There's something weird happening all over. And I am going to love whatever this turns out to be.
Yeah.
Cause I can't guess. I can't even begin to imagine where it's headed.
The downside to that sometimes is like when the payoff's not there. Like Scritch Scratch, you're right. Rats in trees and the trees being alive. Like oh fuck. It being like a fucking statue in the house to be the answer or something, like
Right.
the legacy of the rat catcher, like womp womp womp.
And that was sort of the genius of like some of the old Monster of the Week X-Files is like, yeah, I don't know.
Right. That's like one of the things I most love about. There doesn't have to be an answer necessarily.
Right. And I think when we played Liminal Horror, I didn't at least.
You didn't get an answer.
No.
I mean, and the answer from like, I loved that scenario. Like that scenario was crafted so well. Such a cool idea. Like walking into this hotel and there's people here that are lying to you about who they are. And then they go missing.
Yeah.
And he does explain it. I don't even know if I ever told you what it was, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
I never liked the explanation in the book, and I don't think I came up with one because I couldn't think of one that's more interesting than not knowing.
Right. And I think Cthulhu could end the same way. Like the last Cthulhu adventure
should end the same way a lot of times.
Yeah. And it's just like, and there's something, that lack of satisfaction is also unsettling, but in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But was there more that you wanted to answer for that question, or do you think?
No.
Okay. Because I sort of wanted to morph that into one of the questions I kind of pulled.
Sure.
And I know you started role-playing games later. You know, we talked about that last time when we were talking about getting horny. What's a game that you've played that you wish you could take back to your younger self, your childhood self, and say like, dude,
good one.
Look at this shit.
It's hard to not pick Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder. Not because they're particular. I mean, well, Pathfinder's flawless. Not because of like what they are, but like what they would present to nerdy 14-year-old me, 15-year-old me. Meaning, look, there's 12 different classes in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition that you could go play. And then you could advance and do this, and then you can multi-class. It's one of the reasons why I liked WoW. World of Warcraft was so interesting to me because like watching other people play and they're like, oh yeah, at level 20, you start getting talents. And then you can go like, you can be Fury or Protection or a Druid. You can like change shapes. And I'm like, what? Like you can do all these things. And that idea of progression and, oh my gosh, at level 30, I can two-hand this axe. And like, then like, I remember my brother and sister were further in World of Warcraft than me, and they were talking about like purples, which are mythic rares as opposed to just, or epic. Those are epics maybe. And then mythics are orange. That was later, but so there's common and then greens and then blues, but then purples. And they were talking about getting their first purples. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I think D&D has that closest, like, oh my gosh, you can get a sword that does +5 damage. You get a fire sword. Like it captures that same thing that interested me in high school, which was the progression in WoW. I would love to say like Pathfinder, sure. But also when I was in high school, I remember I felt like slightly embarrassed about it. My buddy told me about this game and he's like, we got to go get it. You got to go buy it. And so we went to Walmart and we bought this game. And we made the joke. It's like, if I see anyone we know, I'm just letting go of the cart and I'm walking away. And he gives me a hard time about that because like I did like at one point just like let the cart go, but like it actually just came up. But that game was HeroScape.
Oh.
And I still have so much of the original HeroScape stuff, but it was this like, you're telling me I can take like the dudes from Time Splitters and jam them up with dragons and then bring in like fucking, whatever. And it was like, it's the same kind of deal, right? Because it's the thing that I would enjoy as a teenager is the thing that would let me go, you mean I can do what?
Right.
So.
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to ask this question now is because my answer is Call of Cthulhu. And the reason why is because I think when we were talking about in the Horned Up episode, I said like part of what got me crazy for RPGs is the realization is that you could do anything. And so I'm sorry, board games, you're too constraining. And Cthulhu in my head, the stories pair with that, right? Like the stories could go anywhere.
Sure.
Paired with a game that's designed to let you do anything. And I just felt like, man, it would be so much fun to just play to find out what happens. And as a kid, I would have probably been very tolerant. My time wasn't as precious, so to speak.
Sure.
So whatever clumsiness, whatever, I wouldn't care because I was a kid and I had more time, and I was rolling with some pretty clunky systems to begin with. So I would have embraced just the mystery that the game in my mind inhabits. So
nice.
Yeah.
I like it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Before we wrap, did we have any other listener questions? I don't think we did, but I want to make sure I'm not missing a listener question.
So Scuba asks, fuck, marry, kill. No. There was one. Duck asked, oh, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. I apologize. Strange Loop in the Discord asks, does Patrick wash his robe?
Now,
No.
I would have bet no, but Patrick came in and said, yes, he does.
Yeah. But do we believe him?
So do you have a robe?
No.
Okay. So like
I
I
have
have
a
a robe for
sweatshirt.
after the shower, right? I take a shower, dry off. I'm a little chilly before I shave. Like in the wintertime, I like keeping our house cold. So I put on the robe.
Yeah.
Or I like to sleep in just like an undershirt, Winnie the Pooh style.
Mhm.
And then like when it's cold, I just grab the robe. I wash that robe like twice over the winter, if that. Definitely once.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking like, I don't know. But Patrick does wear that like way more.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if we're pretty close to wrapping up, I had one last question. Do you have any questions?
No.
No? Okay. So maybe we'll end it on this question. I think we got enough RPG material into this one, but this question is a little bit of a Cosmo quiz.
Okay.
Which Twin Peaks character are you?
Nice. Oh, you're asking.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were gonna
This sort of came up at some point, but it was phrased a little differently. But I just went full. Are you
Is
Samantha?
it who am I really, or who would I want to be, or who do I see myself as? Because I'm probably like a Dick Tremaine or something like that. Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna say I'm Pete. I'm Pete Martell.
Okay.
Sometimes like a little silly sometimes, but also I like to think of someone who ultimately is. There's lots of like Agent Cooper is a pure form of good. Like obviously I want to be Coop or Hawk because he's a badass, or Sheriff Truman, or Josie, but there's very few like pure characters in Twin Peaks.
Right.
But I feel like Pete is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, he's just, and I think he does the right thing and cares about people and cares about what other people think. And like, he'll make the tough, I don't know, like, I think I want to be Pete. I don't know if I am or I'm not.
Right.
I would love to say some of the like cooler characters, but I also see myself being Pete, like a little, I don't know.
Interesting. All right.
Who do you see yourself as?
So
and then I'm going to think about who I see you as.
Okay.
While you.
So I tend to try and be, very polite and, very accommodating and very, I try and be that, as much as I can at work, and so I feel like in that regards, the way I sort of forward face a little bit might be a little James-ish. Just kind of bland, but like just like a nice guy that seems harmless. I'll tell you, like, most of the time, the things that are going through my head are Agent Rosenthal. Who also like is just like a little acerbic, a little like, are you fucking kidding me? But at the end of the day, it's like, look, man, I do this because I have love. Like, like he gives that whole speech to Truman about, he just wants what's best for the universe. And, but a lot of the times he's like, wait, like, you fucking kidding me? But I do know that I not that I'm like trying to suppress who I really am, but I know like I try, like, I want to help people. So like, I try and be like, hey, is there anything I can do? Hey, is there, what can I, and I probably come off like kind of bland and bleh. And I probably do that on the podcast as well. So,
so like in the best ways, Patrick is Andy, right?
Yeah.
You're not an Andy, but you also pack too much comedic relief to be James.
True. I guess I can crack a funny every now and then.
No, you really can. And I think you have way more insight and insightfulness than James. I don't want to be lame, but I also see you as a Pete. I'm trying to think of like characters who do good and aren't. Rosenthal's maybe not a bad. That's actually not a bad one. I don't think you have the same energy as him.
No,
and you're not a Dr. So I'm trying to think of like slightly. Like Hawk's too serious. Cooper is. You're not a Cooper.
No.
And Sheriff Truman, I think, is too. You may be a Sheriff Truman. You may be a Sheriff Truman.
Interesting.
Because in a way, if I'm like, hey, Art, do you want to start a podcast about Riverdale and call it River Daddies? I think you would do it.
Oh, yeah.
If like I really put it like,
yeah.
And I feel like Sheriff, but if I ask you to like, I don't know, go to like a fucking Proud Boys parade with me, then like you'd call me on my bullshit, right? Like,
yeah, I might,
like maybe you are a Sheriff Truman.
Maybe I in an ideal world, I would like to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we all?
That's interesting. I felt like when you were describing Pete, I was like, no, that fits. The Dick Tremaine I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, right. No, I could see myself being Dick Tremaine. Let's be honest.
We're all a little bougie. We got candles.
I'm also trying to think of like who of us, if any. None of us, I think, are Big Ed.
No. And we're definitely not like Bobby or.
No, we don't have any Bobbies or Mikes.
No. No Jacques Renaults.
No, I think of it more in like. Yeah, I think you're a Truman. All right, what do you see me? You see me as Pete?
I thought Pete was a good call.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. Kind of. The thing is, like Pete, you're far more educated. And like Pete's a kind of a simpleton in a way, but he's a good-natured, good-hearted.
Yeah. That's what I.
Right. So I think you're far more educated and far more intellectual than Pete would ever be. But that down to earth loyalty that kind of stuff I could see. Yeah.
But the problem is then if you're not one of the simpletons, then you're holding yourself up as one of either the heroes or someone else. And I don't think I'm a Truman by any means, and not a Coop. I mean, Coop's far too selfless.
Yeah, he's not real, right? In that regard.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And in a way, Pete's not real either, right? Like no one's that lovable and oafish.
Yeah.
Much like Andy. I mean, Andy really becomes a caricature in The Return.
Right.
Yeah. So is Michael Cera's character, which is ridiculous. That was a fun one.
Yeah. Well, I think you might have brought it up in some capacity. I don't know if you were half joking. You mentioned like what background character, but I was like, no, let's turn this into like a Cosmo quiz.
I think I said that as a like like the kid that does the spin move in the hallway. Like I was gonna go for like a deep dive.
I'm James's pencil.
You know who I see you as? The mayor.
He's like 147.
The fucking microphone. You know who I see you as is Donna's sister. Which cracked me up today when Scuba, like I think a month ago, I was like, wow, really forgot Donna had a sister. And then Scuba chimed in today, Donna had a sister?
Yeah, a little brief pause between responses, but yeah. So this was fun, man. This was, again, we were down to Patrick. and we didn't have anything ready
We're
to go.
between games.
We're between games, and there's we can't promise anything. Who knows how Patrick will be doing next week. He did say he's going to attempt to be here next week. And so I hope we can, not to put anybody on the spot. I would love some more Symbaroum, but I don't know if it's going to be ready, and we can figure out what's going to happen.
We also need to talk offline about that, because if next week is Patrick's last week, there's no way we'll get we're at a pause. And so we should talk. We should talk this weekend, because then if that's really what we need to do, then I need to punch some shit into high gear.
Okay, but to what you just said, it doesn't make sense to start the next chapter.
I don't think so, because will I want to do things on the journey, and we will be mid journey, and
yeah. So we'll hold off on that, and which means, again, not to play. I would love to play some Sword of the Serpentine if Patrick's going down.
That I need to get going on, because Patrick will be out for a long time soon. So which is so now I want to pivot, and that's what I need to get into.
So maybe what we do is maybe we just assume Patrick's last week, so that way you can focus. But at the same time, this is sort of a broad question. Obviously I'm a notorious prepper, but if the prepping's getting away in the, would you want to just theater of the mind it? Or do you enjoy having the exact prep that you like to have?
The latter. The game, I like having it.
Okay. It's part of the fun then. Okay.
Well, but the prep for it's not. But I want the visuals, I want the sound, and also I want to know those beats.
That's a good point.
I want to know.
You want to prep
and I think the first time I do Swords of the Serpentine, we're doing a scenario. I'm not building it's not a homebrew. I'm very much doing a scenario. So I really want that scenario down.
Got it.
So I can.
And that liminal horror shit needs to get here, because I want to know what happens with our podcasters and the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, we teased a whole nother town, but we can also go. I think they just won an Emmy for a scenario for something completely unrelated to that.
Okay.
There's some.
Anyway. All right. Well, let's put a pin in all that. Let's stop this here. Thank you to everybody who checked this out. If you're watching this on YouTube, you know where to find us. Like and subscribe if this is your thing. If you prefer audio versions of this kind of stuff or our actual plays, just search for Black Lodge Trivia Night wherever you get your podcasts, and we should show up there. We've got a Discord. We mentioned a number of times. A lot of the questions we pulled tonight were from the Discord. The Dragonbane game that we were talking about right off the bat, done in the Discord. So we appreciate all the folks that have jumped into there and who keep it an interesting and fun place to hang out.
I think Strange Loop is getting a casual Harn game up together soon.
Yeah, he's gonna run that, right? Is that what I was reading?
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah, I think he's gonna run that, and I think Patrick's gonna run to Genesis. And
there's a lot going on that we've got to inform them about. But yeah, otherwise, Matt, there's a lot of fun. Thank you so much for just shooting the shit tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Art.
All right, and hopefully we'll be back next week. Thanks again, everybody.
Perfect ending for Are You Afraid of the Dark? If you remember that Nickelodeon show, which also scared the shit out of me as a kid. Good night, everyone.
Good night.